I start my show today on a very sad note. I know that there are very many sad things going on in motherland Kenya right now. But I believe one of the saddest is to lose young people with a great future before them. Yeah, a great and bright future before them. Just almost starting out their life, professional life. I'm of course talking about the very unfortunate Pwani University accident that took place between Naivasha and Nakuru. My sincere condolences to all those who have been affected. Yeah. And as usual, there are lessons to be learned. These machines we drive are made by humans and subject to failure without warning. Those of you who drive vehicles, please remember that the next time you get behind a wheel. I see many young people in our great country called Kenya testing their vehicles to their limits. Yeah, driving assuming nothing can go wrong mechanically. About 2 years ago, I did a video right here on this channel trying to analyze the ferry tragedy in Mombasa, Likoni. And I brought up the issue of your brakes will never work properly in an automatic vehicle if the engine goes off. So you can imagine if you're at a very high speed and the engine goes off, really you don't have your usual brakes. And so many people here were shocked. Anyway, stay with me until the tail end of my show today, where I'm going to show you footage of the last moments of the Pwani University bus. Yeah. With lots of evidence that this was definitely failure of the brakes while the vehicle was at a very high speed. We have many wazees and experts on our Telegram forum who yesterday were trying to explain how you can slow down using your gears in case of brake failure. Anyway, on to today's very hot topic. Folks, the writing is on the wall. Mene tekel apasin. Incidentally, those words written many centuries ago on the wall by Almighty God himself were in a political situation. Yeah. A leader was being told, it is all over. Your kingdom has come to an end. The name of that leader, of course, was King Belshazzar, who was the son of the very famous King Nebuchadnezzar of Babylon. Anyway, in our precious motherland of Kenya, the writing is very clearly on the wall. And a perfect way of illustrating where our country is today, without being insensitive. My apologies to all those who were touched by the Pwani University tragedy. Kenya is that bus hurtling down the hill with the brakes not working. The brakes have failed. And the lights of this bus are flashing very brightly. And it is hooting very loudly. But many of those vehicles in front are not paying attention. Some people on the bus are asleep. They have no idea what is happening. They have no idea that there's danger. That is exactly where we are as a country today. Now, the government strategy of dealing with the Azimio protests remained the same, consistent with what we saw on day 2, last Monday. There was another attempt to raid a farm belonging to former President Uhuru Kenyatta. I'll come back to that in a moment because it has far-reaching consequences, which many people are still not seeing. And then there was a very deliberate effort to prove that the protests are violent and it is resulting in the loss of property, loss and damage of property. Some people stationed themselves on Twitter almost the whole day, posting videos of people being robbed. Yeah, and of course some of these videos were not from Thursday. Yeah, but that's not the issue here. We all know that criminals live amongst us. And they'll of course take advantage of any situation, yeah, to continue with their bad habits. But what was going on Twitter yesterday and right across social media was very organized, prearranged, carefully planned, and well executed. The message is really very simple. These protests must stop because they are violent, people are losing property, people are having their property damaged. So they must stop. Yeah, it doesn't matter what the protesters are protesting about. That is irrelevant. That is not important for now. That was really the message. But alarmingly, yeah, a trend emerged that is very, very scary. We saw several instances where the people, the wananchi, were able to overcome the security forces, overrun them, and take full control. Okay? Now this tells you that the numbers coming out for these protests are not small. Yeah, because it takes a huge crowd to overcome. Trained policemen, yeah, prepared for that particular scenario. It's not as easy as it may look. But sheer numbers can easily do it. Yeah, so you need to ask yourself the question, is this really Raila versus the government? Or is it the people versus the government? Yeah, that's a very important question that you need to answer for yourself. And there was a very fascinating incident that unfolded in the Madare slums. Mothers, yes, you heard me right, not the men. Mothers came out, knelt down before the riot police, and pleaded with them to stop hurling tear gas into their houses. They told them, there's no problem here. There's no need for you to do what you're doing. And the shamefaced policemen hung their heads very low and walked away in shame, went back to their vehicles, got in, and drove away. Now that was a very fascinating incident, and it speaks volumes. It tells us, for instance, indeed it is true that our dear security boys are going out there looking for trouble, triggering trouble, chokozing trouble. That is really what it is. Told to us, shown to us very clearly. Now, as promised, let's come back to this issue of people's farms being raided. Now, the reaction of big Western powers to what is unfolding in Kenya has changed very dramatically since Monday. And many Kenyans are puzzled as to why. Okay? Now let's get a few things straight. Foreign powers and foreign governments don't care about you, ordinary Kenyan. They don't. They care about the ordinary citizen of their own country. They have more than they can deal with on their plate, dealing with their people back home. Okay? So Kenyans will never be high on their agenda, yeah, of people to take care of people to intervene on behalf of, etc., etc. It's very important we get this into our heads. The reason why they have changed, wait for this one, has been triggered by the incident last Monday, where the farm of the widow of Kenya's first president, Mzee Jomo Kenyatta, that widow of course is Mama Ngina Kenyatta, was raided. And very expensive sheep imported from South Africa taken away. I'm told this sheep cost between 45,000 Kenya shillings upwards. They're not just ordinary sheep. They're not your Kenyaji sheep. Trees were cut and there was damage done. Now, how is this linked to foreign powers? We have a lot of foreigners in the country. Some of them naturalized Kenyans. But their country of origin is the West, who own large tracts of land. They also own businesses, huge businesses like tea plantations, coffee plantations, etc., etc. And of course, these people are very nervous right now after what happened on Monday. And of course, these people keep close contact and communication with their home embassies and high commissions right here in Kenya, who quickly relay word back home. And some of these Western powers I'm talking about were involved in triggering the problem Kenya is in right now. They were bombers, and they did things. I'm sure you understand what I mean. They did pop, 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 pop. So-and-so is duly elected. And don't dare think of opening the servers. Hii maneno kwisha. Elections are over. Let's move on. But now these same Western powers have a problem. A very huge problem. They have to protect their nationals at all costs. So what do? Now it appears that some of them have come to the conclusion that the best way of solving this problem is to find a way of solving this problem as quickly as possible. And of course, the only way of doing that is going back to the root cause of the problem and dealing with that. I'm sure you know what I mean. This is not good news for the UDA government. And those holding this position, that position was strengthened and perhaps cemented by an incident that took place yesterday, captured on video by John Allan Namu, previously of KTN and company, Africa Uncensored. I'm sure most of you viewed that footage. It's a horror story. You have a vehicle with journalists inside. Somebody who some say is a police officer, some say is not. This man approaches the stationary vehicle, tries to break the windscreen. It doesn't quite work. And then goes away and comes back and breaks the window on the driver's side. And then guess what he does next? He fires a tear gas canister directly inside that vehicle. I can imagine a Mzungu conversation. Hey mate, did you train these black Africans on how to use tear gas? Are you sure? Because this footage doesn't make sense. No mate, doesn't make sense. It may begin to make some sense when you have the following information. That vehicle was the communication vehicle for Azimio and Raila Amolo Odinga. It is the vehicle that carries all the sound equipment, cameras, and all the gadgets, etc., etc., that makes it possible for them to be able to beam live feeds. And I'm told sometimes they give lifts to journalists. And the people in this vehicle were very much aware that they were being targeted by the security boys. They've been aware of this for a long time. And that is why, fearing for their lives, they took some certain precautions. And some of those precautions may not be legal. Yeah. But these people were very frightened, scared for their lives. And yesterday, their nightmare came true. Now, what am I talking about when I say taking precautions that may not be legal? I'll tell you. For instance, using masking tape to disguise the number plates, yeah, so that somebody looking at the vehicle may think it is not the one, because the registration number does not match. Now, in case you have not heard, this particular footage has made it to various international news organizations. It has been viewed by people all over the world, including powerful Western nations and their decision makers. Indeed, I believe, and I said this yesterday on our Telegram forum, that one day when historians refer to this day, they will say this particular video footage was the turning point in many ways. The turning point of the fight for electoral justice in Kenya. And what we're talking about here is not all that has gone wrong for the UDA government. There is another simmering crisis very deep inside the UDA government. Yeah. And it is serious. Now, you remember last year, in the run-up to the general elections, when there was a problem within UDA about choosing a running mate for William Samoei Ruto, and you remember there were two camps. One camp was in full support of Kithure Kindiki, yeah, the current CS internal, and the other group was firmly behind Rigathi Gachagua, the man who ended up being the running mate. And you remember the controversy surrounding this issue. It took hours, in fact days, for it to be sorted out. And when it was sorted out, not everybody was happy. You will remember a statement from Kithure Kindiki telling us that he has retired, resigned, completely departed from politics, and he would not participate in the UDA administration in case they won the elections. I'm sure you remember that. Now it seems that round 2 of this battle is ongoing. I'm not sure exactly when it started, but right now I can tell you things are very hot. You will have noticed yesterday the interior CS was very quiet. His silence was deafening. You remember that? And I'm sure you'll also have noted that the people who are really talking were the Kimani Ichung'was, the Rigathi Gachagua camp, yeah, issuing all kinds of statements. Arrest Raila, nothing will happen. That was one of them from Ichung'wa. The interior CS said nothing. The interior CS was saying nothing. Folks, the likelihood of UDA imploding, exploding within, is now looking very real. Other quarters, other sources are saying the real issue is money, cash, besha. Yeah, they're saying that the loot that members of UDA are benefiting from is being distributed unfairly. Let me just leave it at that. You know, on the Telegram forum we have a young man, yeah, who usually has very interesting comments and reactions to various issues. And I can imagine his reaction to this. So what, Chris? What does it concern you? Nothing will happen. You're just dreaming. Now, that is very far from reality. Imagine You're in a war, you're in a contest, you're in a game. And not everybody in your camp is united, yeah, with one mission, one similar single mission. Yeah. You have people who are fighting each other within your own camp. Can a kingdom divided stand? Well, if it can, it will contradict the wisdom of the Holy Bible, because the Bible tells us it can't. Now, I know most of us on this channel are not interested, will never be interested, yeah, in the spiritual. Okay? It doesn't concern them, yeah, and it bores them. But allow me one or two sentences here. I have said in an earlier video that you cannot avoid spiritual laws. If you have a government whose foundation was rebellion, a deputy president rebelled against his boss, the president, went against him, yeah, and that deputy president is now in power. According to spiritual laws, the spirit of rebellion cannot fail to be present in that new government. And the way the spirit of rebellion works is that it triggers, instigates, sponsors, actualizes rebellion within that camp. Rebellion against authority, rebellion against each other, etc., etc. That camp is full of rebellion inside. Why? Because the foundation was rebellion. Those who are spiritual, take note. I said that months ago. And it's not that I'm very smart or I can see into the future. No. I was simply repeating spiritual laws. What they say, what they mean, and what usually happens without fail. Yeah, because things happen in the spirit before they happen in the physical. Anyway, let's leave that for now. Spiritual people, take note. Asante. Now, when you put all these things we have discussed together, then you realize what I started with is actually nothing but the truth. Mene tekel ap hasin. Okay? Now, there are a lot of sensitive things happening. Yeah. And so, I remind you once again, please take advantage of the latest weekly intelligence briefings offer. Yeah, you can see details on the screens right now. It is ending very soon. Yeah, and when it ends in a few hours. So please rush. The reason why I extended it is that there was a delay in the release of number 103. Yeah, so I thought it's only fair to give people more time. Right now I'm working on the next weekly intelligence briefing, yeah, which will be super fascinating, because there is a very important question Kenyans must answer. Who is giving our security boys orders? Yeah? Who is strategizing on what to do to the Azimio people? Yeah, like that incident in the car we have narrated. Who is behind this? The answer to that question will floor you. Oh yes, I believe, God willing, I'll release that WIB within the next 2 or 3 days. So you need to be in, yeah, so that you get it directly in your inbox. Now finally, what I promised earlier in this show, footage of the last moments of the Pwani University bus. You can see that footage on your screens right now. In the first one, the bus is captured avoiding an oncoming vehicle, and then it goes off screen. And then the other footage, we see it, yeah, in the very, very last moments. So sad. So sad. Once again, my very sincere condolences to all those who have been touched by this tragedy. And those recovering in hospital, I pray for quick recovery for them, and even quick recovery from the trauma and horror they must have gone through being inside this bus. Until next time, this is Chris Kumekucha.